Hey y'all! Email's been around a long time, and if you haven't accidentally sent an email to the wrong person or sent a broken link or the wrong time, you're one of the few, because most of us have screwed up an email once or twice in our lives. But when you're trying to send an email to thousands of people through your email marketing platform, that can feel really stressful. So today we're going to talk about 7 things that you need to check before you hit send on your marketing emails. And make sure you stick around for numbers 6 and 7 because they're really important. Okay, so the number one thing you need to check when you are sending an email is there a reason or a purpose for this email? Does this email have an important role in your marketing? Or are you sending an email just because people like me told you that you needed to send an email every week? If you're sending an email out of obligation or to check a box, your subscribers can tell and they're not going to stick around very long. So make sure that every email has a purpose that is important to your end user, to your subscriber. Related to that, make sure that every email has a call to action. Now, a call to action in marketing parlance is just the thing that we want them to do out of that email, right? Now, the reason that we need to give calls to action in our emails are actually twofold. The first is what we really want out of email marketing is for our subscribers, potential customers, clients, for them to take the next step towards us. Now, what that looks like for you and your company may be very different. It might be a call to action to read a blog article, or it might be a call to action to book a call. Your call to action is really one of the most important parts of your email. And if you're not including a call to action in all of your emails, then there really isn't a point to sending the email. So we want them to take that step, to make that click. But the reason that that's important for us as marketers is because we can only really gauge their engagement by their clicks. We can't rely on open rate to let us know how engaged our users are. It's just not reliable enough, even in this world where some platforms have figured out how to tell you true open rate versus Apple Mail privacy open rate. Still, clicks are where it's at. Number 3 is one that I'm sure we've all made this mistake, or we've been the recipient of this mistake, and that is make sure that all of your links are correct, that your times and dates are accurate. I had this happen to me earlier today for a client. Luckily, we caught it before it went out. And make sure that you include the time zone for any date-driven event, whether it's a webinar or a live or whatever it is you do. So making sure that the details are accurate is a super important part, because if it's not accurate, they're not going to sign up or they're not going to show up, but also it's going to make them lose faith in you and your ability to get things right. And we don't want that to happen. Now, number 4 is a big one, and it's one that I get probably the most questions about, and that's your subject line. So take a look at your subject line. And is it compelling? Is it interesting? Does it make you go, I wonder what's in this email? I'm fascinated. Or does it make you go, delete? Your subscribers are going to feel the same way. Now, there's some things that you can do to help your subject line stand out in the recipient's inbox. You can use things like emojis. The nice thing about emojis is that emojis leave a pop of color in the inbox, which is really nice when everything's just literally black and white. You can also use personalization if your email software provider allows for personalization, where you could include their first name in the subject line, for example. I'm pretty sure it was Shakespeare who said, "The sound of our own name is the sweetest sound there is." It may not have been Shakespeare, but people love to hear their own names and read their own names. And so the more you can include their own names, the more personal that email is going to feel to them and less like a marketing email. Now, number 5 kind of seems like a duh, but trust me, you need to check it. Check who is receiving the email. Now, if you just use one main email list of your subscribers, this probably isn't a big deal to you. But if you're doing more granular emailing using tags and segments, make sure that not only is the correct segment or group or however you have it set up, not only is that separate group of people actually going to be the group of people that gets the email, but that the segment itself is set up properly. Because, and I'm guilty, I have once sent an email to the right segment, but the segment was incorrectly set up, and so it ended up going to the wrong people. So always check your recipient list and make sure that the right folks are going to get the right email. Okay, these next two are probably the most important, so I'm glad you stuck around for them. Number 6 is to test your email. Now, that doesn't mean look at it in your email software and make sure it looks good. Actually send yourself a test email. And bonus points if you send yourself multiple test emails to different email inbox providers. Like send one to a Gmail account you have, send one to an Outlook account, send one to Yahoo. Try different providers to make sure that A, everything looks right in those different softwares, and B, that they're actually landing in the inbox where you hope they land. So testing is absolutely vital, not only to make sure you get that correct inbox placement, but also to make sure that, again, your links are correct, that your subject line shows up properly, that the formatting looks right. There are so many things that you can't necessarily tell in the email builder that you can only tell when you're actually testing the email. Most email builders have some sort of way that you can send a test email, so definitely take advantage of that. For some reason yours doesn't, what I do is I create a list, or actually I create a segment that literally just has 2 of my email addresses in it. One is a Yahoo address, one is a Gmail address, and I send an email to just that segment. So I know exactly what the subscriber is experiencing when they receive the email. I test all my links, I double check all the content, I check for spelling, all of that. But I do this in that testing step, and sometimes I do it more than once. So testing is absolutely huge to make sure that you don't make those mistakes that might undermine you as an authority in your field. And finally, number 7 is probably the one that is the most off your radar, but it's the one that can honestly cost you the most, both from a business perspective and a financial perspective. And that is making sure that you are adhering to CAN-SPAM regulations. Okay. Now, if you click over here, I have a video on CAN-SPAM regulations and I'll link it in the description as well, that hopefully will be really helpful in this, particularly around the thing that seems to be the biggest concern for most people is using their physical address in their emails, which is a requirement, but a lot of people don't want to use their actual home address. So this video will actually show you how to comply with CAN-SPAM regulations, but not have to expose your personal home address through your emails. I hope this has been helpful. If you're interested in an actual printable checklist that you can keep by your computer every time you create an email to send to your list, then click below in the pinned comment and you'll see my Ultimate Email Marketing Bundle, which includes that before you hit send checklist and some other goodies. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.